I enjoyed the video so much the other day. When I was working out, I figured I might actually make this a regular thing because it's like two birds with one stone. And also, when I'm working out, ideas just pour in. And so there's something I wanted to talk about today. I mentioned it before in terms of like the dreams that we have being given to you or coming from God or whatever you want to call God. You don't have to call it God. But I want to approach that from a different angle and kind of give like somewhat of an analogy that I feel like could help to see it in a different way of how, if you don't believe in that, how silly it would be to not believe in it when I say it the way I'm going to say it. But more changes, things like totally changing in my life. I actually started reading the Bible today. First time in my life. I've had people around me who have read the Bible, tried to get me into the Bible, but for whatever reason, now I'm open to it. So, I'm going to do this set, and then I'll come back and go through that analogy. All right, so we've already established once or twice before, and even before watching this, you have to have a pretty good idea that we don't know where our thoughts come from. We kind of have an idea of why we have those thoughts. Our upbringing, the environment that surrounded us, the people that we've talked to throughout our lives, thought transmission, that kind of stuff. But in terms of why you get certain thoughts, they kind of just pop in. And the thoughts that I'm talking about are like the thoughts that excite you. Like the thoughts that you would call like it would be a dream come true if that could happen. And so, since we don't know where our thoughts come from, I feel like it's safe to say that the thoughts are coming from infinite intelligence. Whether you want to call that God or whatever, it's like everyone has access to different thoughts and dreams, depending on who you are. And so, my thought, my dream that has come to me, probably has a lot to do with my upbringing, which I've said, like, My dad's family, 100% Irish. My stepdad's family, 100% Italian. So, they were all, a lot of them, into sports and sports betting. And so my dream, other than that, was to become a baseball player, which I've talked about on here before. But I'm 48 years old now, and, that's kind of far-fetched, to say the least. And so the dream that I have now, not a dream, I'm already that, but for the purposes of these videos, again, I have to speak like this. So the dream that I have now is to be the best sports bettor on the planet. I love sports betting. And so for me to get that thought, and this is where I want to kind of bring in the analogy of how ridiculous it would be to believe against this. For me to receive that thought and the excitement that comes with that thought, and not have the ability or the wherewithal to bring that into fruition, would be kind of a nasty thing to do to somebody. It would almost be like someone starving and you dangle a piece of food in front of their face, kind of like the donkey and the carrot. And every time they go to grab the food, you pull it away. Or you show them that piece of food without ever having the actual intention to give it to them. And that's what it would be like for God to show us something, to give us a thought like that excites us, but Him knowing that it's not possible for us. How mean would that be? Like, that would go against everything that we think or know God to be. Like, what would be the point of that? And so, when you receive a dream, to believe that it's not possible for you, because you see this in movies all the time, and I know some people who have said, yeah, as a personal trainer, and when I would meet people for the first time and I'd ask them, are you happy with what you're doing? Sometimes they would say, like, yeah, I like this, but I really wanted to do this, but it's not possible. And so everything is possible. You see it in the movies where it's like they get something and it's like, yeah, but it's not possible. We can't do it. We can't make it happen. And so do you think that that's the way it is? Like, that's the way God works? Is He just teases us with these thoughts? Just these thoughts that just pop in out of nowhere and get you excited, but yet it's impossible for you to make it happen? The reason He's showing you these thoughts is the exact opposite of that. It's because if you believe in the heaven within, in the God within, that anything and all things are possible, then it will be possible. But when you say it's not possible, then it's not possible. You say how it is. I'll do this next step. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. We were talking about something, and obviously I'm working out, but in my early 20s, I was working out and I was doing push-ups. I was doing this workout routine that I had never done before, and I was doing like push-outs on a barbell. I had, imagine that barbell on the ground and just doing push-ups on the barbell. And something like exploded in my back, and I couldn't even move. And the girl I was living with at the time, I laid flat on the floor until she got home from work, which was a couple hours later. And then I went to the doctors, and they told me I had, like a whole shit load of herniated discs in my back, and that I would need to have surgery, and that I should never work out. I should never work out again. But prior to that, my belief in doctors and in any kind of authority growing up was little to none. And so when the doctor told me that, I heard it, but inside I was like, yeah, fucking right, dude. There's nothing that is going to stop me from working out. Nothing. Because I just love it. I like to be in shape. And so not only did I continue working out, and not only am I 48 and I'm more than 25 years later with little to no issues and never had surgery, nothing. Just once in a while I would, tweak something. But again, I would only tweak it because of what that doctor told me and my awareness of something wrong in the top side of my back. That's the only reason. But if I had a different belief about doctors and gave them more authority than I gave myself, where I knew, like, you don't know shit, I know what I'm doing. But if I would have said, well, the fucking doctor knows, and he's the doctor, he's the specialist, I would have a completely different life. I mean, I was a personal trainer for 12 years. That's how I met my wife, who I now have a daughter with and 2 stepchildren. Like, think about that. It's all about you. And it's all about your knowing in yourself that creates your experience. I gotta switch these weights. That's gonna be what, 12? We're gonna try here. Maybe I'll make a video one of these times, or maybe I'll change the channel to like workouts and videos, just in case anyone wants to work out. But yeah, so again, it all comes back to the I am within. And you're knowing that you can be or do whatever you want. But you're going to have to get beyond the old self. Like I've been talking about. But at the same time, that's all you have to do is get beyond the old self. Because there's nothing out here. It's just you. You're creating it all, which again is why, watching Eric, and he talked about the sunglasses, every time I look in the mirror, even right now, watching this video, just reminded me, everything comes from within. This does not matter. This is you. It's you versus you. So if you want to change, if you want this to change, then the internal has to change. But while you're changing the internal, while this is changing, and you say, I am something else, you're still facing this. Because that's the old awareness. But then once you get past that, you're home free. Then it's like you start to, like, even my intrusive thoughts that I initially had, that I've talked about, they really got loud after I made that first video saying, I am, and realizing how it all worked, and that state that I was in. I was always in the becoming state, which I haven't mentioned recently, but make sure that you're not in that state, because that's a torturous state, because it's like you're always almost there. But once you say you are and I am, one of the most important things to remember is that your body is part of the 3D. And so I pretty much say it in every video, because even yesterday, I was sitting in my chair and I was thinking about working out. I've been working out like almost 5 days a week, like every week for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. And now it's become like clockwork. I just do it like I used to do it. But my old awareness, the awareness that I've had for the last couple years, where I've talked about, for whatever reason, like I fell out of it and I was having trouble just getting back to the same consistency that I used to have. Anytime I would get a couple weeks in, I would get a good groove going, tweak something would tweak. But then I realized nothing's tweaking. That's just the old awareness trying to keep me where I am. Because the body is part of the 3D. Your body is part of the old awareness. You are the awareness, the consciousness in here that you can't see. Everything's coming from it, including your body, including your feelings and emotions. And so yesterday, sitting there, again, old awareness comes in. My back just randomly, from the middle of my back down, just locks up while I'm sitting there. I'm like, holy shit, I've never felt this before. Combined with now a thought, an intrusive thought, saying, oh shit, are we going to be able to work out today? Boom, boom. Old awareness, throwing 2 shots. A combination, uppercut, jab, uppercut, cross, whatever. And it took me like 10 seconds to realize, oh, that's what this is. No, I'm good. Working out today. I'm a fucking beast. I'm the motherfucking man. There's nothing that's going to stop me because it's already done. And so, again, just like the shoulder thing that I talked about that randomly popped up, as soon as I started working out, it was like it never even happened. It was just there, again, old self, just checking with me. Hey, are you sure? This is who you want to be now? Yeah, I'm fucking sure. Relax. Do this up. A couple weeks ago, I couldn't even get that weight up 5 times. Just got it up 12. And that's after already doing 35 reps. Is there anything else? The dog, as I was talking about the dog and triggers, and I told you hadn't gone in the house for over a year. There was a time period when we first moved here, and I was in major resistance, like, I talked about when I started making these videos, like a month after I had thought about, just not being here anymore. He would get like sick like every couple weeks. And I would literally, I would be cleaning like nasty stuff up almost like 2 or 3 times a week. And so, like I said, that was like an old trigger for me. And so this hadn't happened. Where he had gotten like sick again. He ate something. Now, he ate something, it was perfect unfolding. It wasn't like he randomly ate something, because remember, it's all coming from you. And so this was a perfect unfolding for me as to where all of this stuff was happening at the same time, all of it. And so he just happened to eat something because that was part of the perfect unfolding, which made him sick for a couple days. This was extended, where I had him out on the deck and he was going to the bathroom on the deck. And so I had to keep him outside all day. And it was like, normally, every time I would go out there in the past, the angry me would get angry every single time. So I would have to clean it up. But now, I'm just like, okay, I hope you feel better. We'll get you back inside as soon as you show me, as soon as you can go like 6 hours, 7 hours, we'll get you back inside. Now, this is probably what, again, there's probably a lot of people watching this who are like, of course, that's what, that's what I would do. And why were you the other way? Again, because that's just who I was. That was my identity. I was an angry identity. And so anything that wouldn't go my way, or anything that was like, made me a little uncomfortable, there was anger involved. And so when there's anger, when there's that kind of emotion involved, that becomes a trigger. That becomes something you recreate. And then I talked about yesterday, giving the old self ammo. That's ammo for the old self. So if there ever comes a day where you say, I want to change, I want to be something different, he goes, okay, let's see if you really do. I'll show you this. I'll show you this. I'll show you this. All these things that will piss you off if you're still that old identity and you haven't changed. But if you have changed, then you'll just be like I was. Okay, cool. I know what this is. Last set here. And so, I know talking about a lot of the same stuff, but I figure if I keep posting and showing you and talking about my days and what's happening and how I'm handling it, because obviously, if you've been watching these videos, you can see a change in who I am. I mean, it's not even close. Everything has slowed down. There's no internal war that's happening anymore. It's like my thoughts are able to flow because I don't have that negative self-talk in there. It's just like everything is just moving in one direction now, which is what I say. All those things that I say to myself all throughout the day. And anytime an intrusive thought comes in, which they still do, but just not even close to as much as they did before, I just say internally, or sometimes I'll say it out loud, like, nope, it's not who I am. I'm this. Bye-bye. And that's it. And then every day just keeps getting better. And I keep getting more entrenched in my awareness. And realize it's like the more I do this, the more I'm able to realize throughout the day that everything is coming from me. So anybody that I meet, anybody that I see, I'm like, that's me. They're me right now. And so when you start to see everybody as you look at everybody differently, because you're like, oh fuck, that's me. How do I want to be treated? How do I want to treat me? Because that's me. Yeah. So that's it for today. I'm going to finish my workout. I know this helps some people. I know it always does. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.